Welcome to BuildBytesDaily. You know, if you've spent any time with JavaScript, you've definitely run into code that just makes you scratch your head, code that works when it feels like it absolutely shouldn't. Well, today, we're going to tackle one of the biggest reasons for that confusion, hoisting. And trust me, by the end of this, you won't just get it, you'll know exactly how to write better code because of it.
All right, let's just jump straight into it. Take a look at this code. We're calling the function greet before we've actually defined it. Now, in most other languages, this would be an instant error, right? The whole program will just crash and burn. But in JavaScript, this works perfectly. The real question is, how?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Logically, this just feels wrong. It's like trying to read a chapter from a book before it's even been written down. So how does JavaScript pull off this little magic trick? Well, the answer is a core and often super misunderstood mechanism of the language.
And that mechanism is called hoisting. Now, the name itself is a bit of a metaphor. Your code isn't actually getting shuffled around. What's really happening is that the JavaScript engine does a quick scan of your code before it runs anything. In that first pass, it just makes a list of all your function and variable declarations. Let's break down what that really means.
Okay, so we're going to start with the most straightforward example, the one we just saw, function declarations. This is hoisting at its absolute best, and it's actually pretty helpful.
So when you declare a function using the function keyword like this, JavaScript hoists the entire thing. I mean everything. Not just the name greet, but the entire function body, all the logic inside. It all gets lifted to the top of its scope. This means that function is fully available anywhere and everywhere in its scope, which is why we can call it before we see it.
So you can kind of picture it like this. The JavaScript engine mentally rearranges your code. It's as if it sees the function definition first, and then it sees your call to the function. This is exactly why our first example worked without a hitch. It's a really powerful feature, and it gives you a lot of flexibility in how you want to structure your code.
Now, this is where things get a little weird. Let's talk about variables declared with the var keyword. Honestly, this is where almost all the confusion about hoisting comes from.
All right, puzzle time. Look at this. We're trying to log a variable called myvar before we declare it and give it a value of 5. So what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to see the number 5, or is the code just going to explode?
And the answer is undefined. It's not 5, and it's not an error. This is a classic JavaScript gotcha, and it's all because of the quirky way that var gets hoisted. It's totally different from how functions are treated, and this difference, it's everything.
Okay, let's really dig into this because this is the crucial part. With var, JavaScript splits the declaration from the initialization. The declaration part, the var myvar, gets hoisted to the top. That's why our code doesn't crash. JavaScript knows that a variable named myvar exists. But, and this is a big but, the assignment, the equals 5 part, that stays exactly where you put it. And since every hoisted var declaration gets a default value of undefined, well, that's what we get when we log.
Now, this weird behavior with var caused a ton of bugs back in the day. So thankfully, modern JavaScript gave us a much safer way to declare variables, let and const.
So let's try this same experiment, but this time with let. We're trying to log my let before its definition. Based on what we've seen so far, what's your prediction this time?
And boom, a reference error. Now this is actually a good thing. The error message is super clear. Cannot access my let before initialization. It's not saying the variable doesn't exist. It's just telling you, hey, you're trying to use this too early. This is a deliberate safety feature, and it's a lifesaver.
So let's clear up a really common point of confusion. Variables declared with let and const are hoisted. The big difference is that they don't get initialized with undefined like var does. Instead, they exist in this uninitialized state. You can't touch them. Trying to access them before their declaration line is what triggers that super helpful reference error, and that prevents a whole category of bugs from ever happening.
Awesome. So to really round out our understanding, let's take a quick look at how function expressions and classes fit into all of this. You'll see they follow the exact same patterns we've just learned.
So, you can assign a function to a variable, right? That's a function expression. In that case, the variable itself gets hoisted just like any other var variable. So it exists, but its value is undefined. If you try to call that variable as a function before the assignment, you're literally trying to execute undefined function, which, yeah, that's a type error. Totally different from function declarations, which are hoisted, body and all.
And what about classes? Well, they behave exactly like let and const. Simple as that.
The class declaration is hoisted, so JavaScript knows about it, but it stays uninitialized until the line of code that actually defines it. So if you try to create a new instance of it too early, you get that same predictable and very helpful reference error. It's all about writing safer, more predictable code.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here. We've talked about functions, var, let, const, and classes. So let's wrap it all up in a nice, simple summary you can take with you.
And here it is. This table is your hoisting cheat sheet. You can see it right here. Function declarations are fully hoisted and ready to use. var is hoisted but starts as undefined, which can be pretty risky. And then you have the modern heroes, let, const, and class. They're all hoisted but are totally inaccessible until they're declared, which saves you from so many headaches. The best practice is crystal clear. Stick with let and const.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? Hoisting isn't just some weird trivia fact. It's a fundamental part of how JavaScript operates. Understanding these rules means you can read code with more confidence, you can debug problems way faster, and you can write code that is just plain cleaner and less buggy. It's one of those things that really levels you up as a developer.
So I want to leave you with one final thought. Now that you've got this clear mental model for how hoisting works, how is that going to change the way you actually write your code day to day? Are you going to be more intentional about where you put your declarations? I bet you will.
I really hope this explainer helped finally clear up the mystery of JavaScript hoisting for you. If it did, do me a favor and hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe to BuildBytesDaily for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.